is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon.
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Big Ten champions.
National champions, yes. The Ducks take home an indoor national title.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
It's always a great day when you beat the Beavers, and it was how I opened the show on Monday. It's how I'm opening the show on Wednesday after Oregon completes the season sweep against Oregon State with an 8-4 victory in Corvallis last night. It felt like an Oregon Ducks team that just refused to lose throughout the course of the entire weekend, and that's exactly what we saw again yesterday on the field. As Oregon baseball, they're quick back at it. They've already left, going to Michigan State, playing a weekend series, returning to conference play over the weekend. Joey Mack will have the call for you on all of those games against Oregon State. It's Duck Insider here in the Country Financial Studio. Ryan Milano here with you. We will break down that game for Oregon baseball, the win against the Beavers, as well as close the book on Oregon lacrosse season. Jessica Drummond sat down with Joey earlier in the week, as well as continuing to break down an Oregon football spring game over the weekend as the Ducks closed out their spring practices. But first, we are starting with Oregon baseball and their win against Oregon State after the Ducks won close on Friday, big on Saturday, and then close again on Sunday. It was a similar game to the first and third for Oregon against the Beavers, where Oregon State, they took a lead early in this game. Jacob Walsh gave the Ducks a 1-0 lead in the first inning with a solo home run. It was his fourth of the weekend. He homered in every game against Oregon State, but then Oregon State in the bottom of the first inning answered with another run to tie it, and then two more in the second. It was 3-1 Oregon State early in the game, and the Ducks just kept chipping away. Ryan Cooney had a solo home run in the third inning to get the Ducks back within one. But then the Beavers expanded their run lead back to 2 with another run in the fourth. Then you get to the sixth. And the sixth was a really pivotal inning for Oregon. Jacob Walsh leads it off. And the way that Jacob Walsh was performing at the plate this series, there was no one you would rather have leading off that inning for Oregon. He was hit by a pitch, started it off strong. Then Drew Smith, multi-hit day for him. A single through the right side was his first hit, and he put 2 on for Oregon. Antoneros came up, sacrificed Walsh and Smith into scoring position. 1 out in the inning. Maddox Maloney, he walks. Bases are loaded. Ducks then decide to go to the bench. Pinch hit. Jeffrey Hurd gets brought into the ballgame. He worked an 8-pitch at-bat. And then he hit a chopper up the middle. Looked like it could have been a double play ball. Oregon State, they step on second, throw to first. Jeffrey Hurd beats it out. Strong hustle play from Oregon's outfielder off the bench and Jeffrey Hurd in order to have one run come across in the inning and then pass the bat to Ryan Cooney, who's hitting over 500 with 2 outs this season. He had one of his bigger 2-out hits of the year in that at-bat, where Jeffrey Hurd stole second, put 2 in scoring position with 2 out. He hit a ball up the middle. It stayed on the infield. A.J. Singer for Oregon State was able to backhand, but Ryan Cooney hustling down the line made it a close play. Singer had to hurry. The throw was wide of first base, and Oregon, with some aggressive base running like they've been doing all series long, not only scored Maddox Maloney, or actually not only scored Drew Smith, but also scored Jeffrey Hurd in behind him. It was a 3-run inning for Oregon on a 2 RBI single for Ryan Cooney on the infield. It ended up being a 3-run inning, and it flipped the game in Oregon's favor. Gave the Ducks a 5-4 lead at that point. Then in the 7th inning, Oregon kept their momentum going. Mason Neville, he doubled. He was 1 for 1 in the game with this double. He also walked 4 times in the ball game. He was on second base with 1 out. Jacob Walsh comes up, rips a double down the right field line, scores Mason Neville, gives Oregon a 2-run lead. Later in the inning, Drew Smith, another critical at-bat, gets a single, drives in Jacob Walsh. After Walsh had stolen third base, a straight steal of third, Oregon had been excellent on the base paths all series long. Walsh comes in, Oregon scores 2 in the inning, the Ducks are up by 3. Then in the 9th, Oregon adds 1 more. It's an 8-4 lead for the Ducks. Oregon ends up closing the game with an 8-4 win. And Oregon, during some midweeks, had struggled in the bullpen in terms of holding leads. That was not the theme for Oregon in this game against Oregon State. The series against Oregon State, the Ducks bullpen was excellent. Over the 4 games, the bullpen pitched 16 innings, allowed just 2 runs. In this game, the way it went, Oregon used 7 pitchers. Will Sanford started. He threw 2 innings. He gave 3 runs up. Then Ryan Featherston came in, threw 2 innings, gave up 1 run. Then the bullpen didn't give up another run for the rest of the game. Jackson Jordan threw a clean inning. He got the win in the ball game. Sam Boyle came in, 2/3 of an inning, didn't give up a run. Cole Stokes threw 2 innings, didn't give up a run. Santiago Garcia threw 1/3 of an inning, didn't give up a run. And then in the 9th, Seth Maddox comes in, he throws an inning, doesn't give up a run, earns the save. It was Oregon locking down the back end of the bullpen all weekend long against a very talented Oregon State lineup that didn't look it against the Ducks because Oregon pitched so well. It felt like that was kind of the ebb and flow of the season where the Ducks were coming off a stretch where the back end of the bullpen didn't pitch very well, and the Ducks lost a few games because of it. Well, now the bullpen is what carried Oregon through the series against Oregon State, and well, without the stellar bullpen, the Ducks could probably be looking at going 1-3 over the 4 games instead of the 4-0 in which the Ducks did against Oregon State. Also, big keys to why Oregon had such a successful weekend offensively. 2 guys, Ryan Cooney, Jacob Walsh, they were excellent. Ryan Cooney over the 4 games was 8 for 16. He hit 500 at the plate, drove in 5 RBI, and stole 2 bags. Jacob Walsh, in the series, he went 5 for 12 with 4 home runs, drove in 7 RBI. He walked 4 times. He was hit by 2 pitches. He also stole 2 bases. And Oregon Senior, he's seen this series a lot. He came in focused into this series. He said after the game, there's a lot of energy that goes into this series. It means a lot on both sides. And the guys just kind of came together and said, you know, we haven't done well against them since Walsh has been here. And it was like, we're done with that. We need to get them this time. And Oregon did. Oregon got them all 4 times this time. It's the last time Oregon has won 4 in a season against Oregon State since 2011. Dating back to last year when Oregon won the Sunday and Tuesday games against Oregon State, it ties the longest Duck winning streak in the rivalry series, set in the 1971 through 1972 season and the 1973 through 1974 season. It's the first time the Ducks have won 6 in a row against Oregon State in some odd 50 years. Good stuff from Mark Wasikowski's crew. And over the last 2 weekends, winning the series against UCLA at PK Park, sweeping Oregon State, the Ducks went 6-7 against 2 teams that before they came into PK Park were probably slated to host in a regional round. Oregon proved that they can go toe-to-toe and play better baseball across a weekend than both UCLA and Oregon State with the results that the Ducks put up in both of those games. Oregon now, depending on which poll you look at, up to as high as number 6 in the country. The Ducks, they have 5 more regular season games at PK Park after a road weekend series against Michigan State. And if the Ducks can continue to take care of business throughout the back end of Big Ten play, that 5 games might not be the final number of games at PK Park. This Oregon team wants to host a regional. And with the results over the last 2 weekends, I think that Oregon has put themselves firmly in the conversation and in a really strong spot to be a postseason host at PK Park. Really good work from Mark Wazakowski's crew. Good job by the baseball program after they got down in 3 of the 4 games, coming back to win in all 4 of them. Good work. Good work by Mark Wazakowski's team. Good work by the offense and stellar work by the bullpen. It really felt like a complete effort and like this team has started to turn a corner. They got to keep it going. Michigan State's a tough opponent. Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the road in East Lansing. Joey Mack will be on the call for all 3 of those games. But the Ducks, after you sweep Oregon State, there's a lot of momentum in the Duck dugout this season. Got to take a timeout. When we come back, we're closing the book on another Oregon season that ended with some decent momentum. Returning to Duck Insider after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
My son, Ricky, took his life by the use of a firearm. It broke me, and I contemplated suicide. My grandson, I was gonna have to be here for him. I still own my firearm. I keep it in a safe because I want to keep my grandson and myself safe.
Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you on a Wednesday after Oregon swept Oregon State in the season series, all 3 at PK Park over the weekend and yesterday up in Corvallis. The Ducks got all of them. Feels good to sweep Oregon State. Now the page turns to Michigan State coming up over the weekend. For Oregon Lacrosse, the page has already turned to the offseason. The Ducks closed out their regular season last week, and now the Jess Drummond coach team is looking to rebuild for their second year in the Big Ten coming up, breaking down what happened throughout the course of the season, some of the highlights, and where this team is headed during the offseason. Joey Mack sat down with Jess Drummond last week, and, well, the coach detailed what was so strong about the first year in the Big Ten, and also the offseason plans coming up. Joey Mack with Jess Drummond.
Reviewing the season, Oregon Lacrosse head coach Jess Drummond is here. We just discussed before we pressed play that the scrunchie has become truly iconic.
Yeah.
Have you always been a scrunchie connoisseur?
I grew up loving scrunchies, and then they went out, and then they came back, and I was like, this is coming back, and I'm keeping this
When
forever.
did they go out of style? When?
Probably like high school, and then definitely we're not in college. Definitely.
So
it was like
wear the scrunchie in
bandanas.
college?
I didn't. I wore bandanas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, black and white one, little camo one, and then the scrunchies came out, I think, kind of back right when I graduated.
Okay, well, if you ever see someone walking around with a yellow scrunchie and it's around the facility, that would be Jess Drummond.
Yeah, yep. But Cece does wear one right now.
See?
Because she borrowed one from me, and now she wears it every occasionally, and I'm like, hey, that's my scrunchie. So if you see them, you know that they're my scrunchies.
Okay. So you
Out in
have
the
really
wild.
been a good teammate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, Anna and I swapped scrunchies. She had this really cool green one, and I had my yellow one, and I was like, hey, we could trade these.
And how'd it go?
Great.
See.
I think she played fantastic when she wore that scrunchie.
And then you traded back?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to work. That's how it's supposed to work. All right, we're going to review the season, talk about the off season ahead. I actually am glad that you brought up Cece. Tell us about your staff.
Yeah.
And just working with the staff again this year, because I imagine there's a development point there, too, with you and your staff and working together this year.
They're amazing. I love Theo and Cece. Lauren Anderson was awesome with our goalies, too, when we get her when we can.
Sweet.
And, Cece did an awesome job. I think it was great to see that defense kind of learn a lot from last year. We had kind of a lot of new players step into roles that they hadn't been in before this year, too. And so to see that success, and, I think we did really well and grew in that area big time.
Well, to that point, so let's kind of go chronologically. Like early in the season, you have a lineup that looked different than at the end of the season. So let's go back in time. The non-conference slate, your team started well, didn't they? You had to be proud of them.
Fired up, confidence was high. We had all the healthy bodies on the team and just did such a great job of showing up, playing hard. And that's something that, I've been talking about with you every episode of, like, I just want us to always be that team that is gritty from start to finish and can out-hustle a team. And, when you play us, you know that we're going to fight you hard. And so I felt like that was very consistent from start to finish all season.
Well, and early in the season, I mean, you talked about that defending Pape mantra. I mean, you win 18-6, 17-7, right, to start the season. And I got to think as a coach that sets the vibes up for good success, right?
Yeah, love playing at Pape. The crowd is great. We get to be in Eugene. You never know what the weather's going to give us. And so, defending that Pape field for us is just so special.
When you ended up going 5-4 at home.
Great.
Right? And so you like a winning record.
That's a winning record.
Right?
Here we go.
That's right. Winning record at home. Now, as the season moved forward, then we knew the Big Ten was the best lacrosse conference around.
Yes.
Right? So you enter Big Ten play. Just review it for fans. So what did you see against the Big Ten competition?
Yeah, they came at us like we knew they would. We know they're some of the best teams in the entire country, so to play them was super exciting. I think our team continued to get better each Big Ten team opponent we faced, which was exciting to see. And, that's all we can ask out of them, of knowing that, we were in Pac-12. This is a new conference for us. We got to raise that bar high. And, we kind of have the expectation set of, like, what we've got to put into work out of off-season to prep us for next season again.
I wanted to also go back and ask you about one specific matchup on the season, because I felt like it was such a cool moment. And you talk about defending Pape, but even the competition level, right? You win 17-16 against San Diego State.
Yes.
So you're smiling as I'm asking you this.
Yeah, it was a cool comeback.
I thought that was so indicative of the gritty mentality that you've wanted. So I'm curious now, as we zoom out on the larger picture, is that a game that you're going to kind of look back on and be like, hey, this is what we can be moving forward?
Yeah, and I kind of brought that up when we played Eastern Michigan. We were down, I think we were down 5 or 6, and I was like, we've come back for more. We just got to keep chipping away. And, I think about the games we played at Pape. Like, we held Michigan. We held Rutgers. Like, those were, single goal games. I think we were down by 4 to Rutgers same with Michigan. Like, those were games that we were so right in there. And so I think for us to be able to continue to be able to show up and perform on our home turf is awesome.
You end up winning 13-11 there in Ypsilanti, right?
Yeah.
So that comeback mentality. I want to ask you, too, like, you often started so fast early in the season. Like you would jump teams and get up early. Do you want that to be something you can do moving forward more consistently?
I do. And, we have, this is not, we can talk about this. We know our team was injured. And so being able to do that with a squad that's so injured, and then, looking ahead of next year of having those subs, having those bodies back, we can have that depth and have that gas last all 4 quarters instead of just the first 2.
Unfair question now. The lineup changed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how did you handle it as a coach over the course of the entire year?
Totally. I think it's just always a mentality of, you've got to be ready for your shot and take advantage of those moments. And, it's always sad. It's always heartbreaking when a player goes down for the season. But it's just, as a coach, you have to be prepped for that next step of like, okay, who's going to show up? How do we prep them? But in my mentality, they should be prepped from the start of like, if anything ever to happen, we can just seamlessly put somebody in.
Well, and I've always said this, like injuries are the worst part of sports.
The worst. It's so heartbreaking. Yeah, it's the worst.
For the individuals, right? And then also for the entire team, it's okay. In a perfect world, it's easy to say, like, all right, just next duck up. But then there's a reason someone was starting. And I mean, it changes the whole team dynamic. I was curious, too, like, as you now zoom out again, over the course of an entire season, like, you do have limited practice time. You have limited time to try to sort things out and get your arms around that. I mean, that's a challenge, isn't it?
Definitely.
Take fans inside that process.
Definitely. Yeah, like you're working through all of those changes throughout. You have like maybe 2 to 3 practices to figure it out. If somebody goes down on a Sunday when we play on Thursday. So just trying to navigate that pretty quickly. And so we just want to always make sure that everybody's always on the same page and always pushing the person ahead of you. I think that's the biggest thing.
Talking lacrosse with head coach Jess Drummond, reviewing the year a little bit, had some outstanding seniors. And so as we look ahead to the roster, let's first kind of look back, seniors that are moving on now. Bittersweet.
I know it is. And they just, I talked a lot about it throughout the year and just reminisced again after our last game of, they were the foundation of what it was like to play the Big Ten for the first ever conference or first ever time being in the Big Ten. And so I think just their leadership, their passion, how much they cared about pushing this program forward will always be ingrained in the program. And, I'll always be forever grateful for that.
I feel like that's so cool. I know that you prioritize that alumni connection. Right. As one yourself. Right. So I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like, years from now, they may not remember the record, but they'll remember that this was the first team that ever went through this.
Totally. Yeah.
That's cool to see.
Yeah, and I think about the team last year, too. They were the last team to ever play in the Pac-12.
Right.
Morgan McCarthy, last player to ever get the midfielder Pac-12 of the year.
That's right.
Like, to me, I'm like, those are cool accomplishments to hold on to. And so I just think that, too, with this year of being the first time playing the Big Ten, that they were here for that.
We can cover so many, but I did want to ask you just the way that Brie Carrasquillo finished the season for you. I mean, I got to tell you, I was surprised to not see the Big Ten honor come for Brie Carrasquillo.
Yeah.
Just the way that she performed, especially in conference games, just the season that she had for you down
Totally.
the stretch.
I think that she's somebody that doesn't need those type of accolades because she's just a team first player. And we are so grateful that we had her for a year. I wish I had 3 more years with Brie. Just such an awesome leader, led by example of just doing the right thing, played so hard, cared so much, and you could see it in every game that she showed up for. And once that Big Ten conference hit, it was like, damn, that's Brie. That's who she is for us.
And one of a couple that you had for just a year, right? So I imagine now the leading question, if you will, is, so what's the roster going to look like next year, Coach?
Yeah.
Have you started to game plan that out, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. The portal opens the 11th. We'll obviously always have some conversations. I think it's going to be an interesting landscape of like roster sizes. There's a lot of programs out there that have more than 38. So what's going to happen when that happens? We're probably one of the few in the Big Ten that are under that 38 number. So we could be in a good position to, welcome some new Ducks.
That's interesting. I mean, how is all that impacting you as a coach? Just everything that's happening around
so much
college athletics. Like, how do you approach it, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know, with an open mindset. Like, what else are you going to do with this? Of like, it's a unknown territory. Who knows what's going to happen? And so I think for me, if we can continue to lift up female student athletes, like, let's do it. Let's find ways to help get them that kind of success that their counterparts have.
We talk about adding to the roster, but it's also recruiting season.
Yeah.
It's development season. So before I ask you about recruiting, how about development? What does the off season schedule ahead look like?
Yeah, so we're off this week. After our last game, we'll be off for a week, and then we hit back 8 hours the 28th of April. So that'll be grind back away. So it's great that we'll get back to 8 hours. Not many players in schools get to do that because we're on trimester / quarters. So it's great that we, some schools are pretty much ending in May, but we've got them back and get to work with them for a whole month before they go.
Yeah. That's cool. And then the summer, I mean, what do you want them to do?
I want them to work out and play lacrosse.
That's right. I asked that like tongue in cheek, but I mean, I know that the off season is important to any coach, any program, isn't
it is. It is. And, we were fortunate to have a lot of players that played overseas and got to get that experience this summer. So, going to continue to encourage that as much as possible.
I'm glad that you said that because, you talk about, in baseball, it's all the collegiate summer bat leagues, as you call it, right?
Yeah.
But in your sport, there is some international experience that can take
super
place.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. And I'm going to keep being that coach that's stay a summer in Eugene. I think every athlete should do that when they come through Oregon. As a former athlete myself, I knew how awesome it was in the summer, and it's just a crew. And if there's 5 to 10 players that stay, that's 5 to 10 people that you get to play lacrosse with while you're here.
That's cool. I mean, I'm glad you said that because I think that in general, the campus is what makes this community so vibrant, right? But the campus, we all know, isn't quite the same population over the summer. But man, it's great to be here over the summer.
It's so special, and I feel like everyone leaves, and I'm like, but it's so fun to be here. Yeah. And the ones that stay, I'm like, you just grow such deep relationships with players and other student athletes that are here on campus that summer.
That's a good point because, you mentioned the quarter system being relatively unique around the collegiate landscape, particularly in the Big Ten, actually. And you have sports that are starting up in August.
Right. So why not stay? Hang out those sports.
Well, I mean,
make some friends.
You share a facility with one of them.
Soccer.
The first one every year is always Oregon soccer in the middle of August. And here we go. So, that's cool to review it with you. Now, how about recruiting? I mean, what's the schedule like for the coaching staff
we'll
now?
hit the road. There's a couple camps and clinics that are coming up May and June. And then, we're pretty much on the road all over the place throughout June and July. We'll have a camp end of July, and then we'll have another camp in August before we kind of hit September 1st phone calls.
Cool. Yeah. September 1st phone calls.
September 1st.
Does that feel like it's a ways away?
Yes and no.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I totally understand. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, again, a bit of an unfair question.
Okay.
So, program is building now toward next season. What's the recruiting pitch?
Oh,
Give the recruiting
Thank you for
pitch.
the floor.
Yeah.
It's so easy for me to be like, Oregon, why not? This place is so special. There's amazing human beings. We get to work together. Come on, Joy Mag's here. Biggest selling point.
Thanks, Jess.
But
nice to lie like that.
No, it's not a lie. Never lie. I just think you get the holistic student-athlete experience when you're at Oregon. We've got fantastic facilities. We've got all the resources. The swag is great, but the people are better.
Yeah.
Always.
Last question for you.
Yes.
At what point do you start teaching proper form to your son on a lacrosse shot?
Listen, he's already trying to throw a ball right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got his own lacrosse ball ready to go?
Right now he can't fully hold one of those ones. Okay. It's got holes in it right now.
All right, good.
Yes.
Yeah. Making progress.
Yes. He is a wiggle man. He wants to be crawling immediately.
So he is your son.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he's very strong.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he's been rolling over since around 2.5 months.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Hey, my best to you, your family, the staff, the team. I want to say thanks for coming on every week.
Duh.
Seriously, because hey, we all know this is one of our favorite segments. Every time we press
now, who's
play,
lying? Come on, get out of here.
Ask Scott.
Well,
Scott is thoroughly entertained every time Coach Drummond is sitting in here.
Great.
Just
love that.
Your
Great
passion
time.
and energy for your sport, I think, is infectious. And
Great.
Here's hoping for a fabulous off season. I do hope you get to rest a little bit.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And then another season's going to be here before we know.
Crazy.
Yeah. What else should fans know? Anything we missed at the end of the year?
No. Go Ducks, always.
Jess Drummond, Oregon Lacrosse head coach. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jess Drummond, stopping by, giving us the season recap on Oregon Lacrosse. And, one, I guess, mid-spring season comes to a close. So did another over the weekend with the Oregon Spring Game. Have so much sound still from the Oregon Spring Game that we haven't gotten to early in the week. Going to get to some of the more breakdown of Oregon football spring game from last Saturday when we return after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
This message is for Shauna, my mom who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle.
Or forget extra diapers.
You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never, ever become a minivan mom. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union inside the Country Financial Studio. Ryan Milano with you here on a Wednesday, coming off of such a great weekend in Oregon athletics with Oregon baseball and their season sweep over Oregon State, Oregon softball and their sweep over Indiana, as well as the win over Notre Dame on their road trip. Oregon softball actually speaking with the media as we speak. Just got concluded with their media availability. So we'll have them on the show for you either tomorrow or Friday as they get prepared for their regular season finale at the Jane. But also, it was Oregon spring game over the weekend, and we got to see a whole bunch of new Ducks put on the uniform for the first time. Someone who we've seen in uniform in sparing capacity, but now has an opportunity to potentially earn himself a bigger role, maybe even as a starting quarterback for Oregon. Dante Moore. He was one of the two starting quarterbacks in the Oregon spring game, and we got to hear from Dante Moore and his reaction after the first experience in Autzen Stadium for the 2025 Oregon Ducks squad. Let's hear from the quarterback.
Dante, how do you feel like you performed out there today? Did it meet your expectations, surpass it?
I feel like overall today was just good just to have fun. I mean, if it was negative or positive plays out there, it's really just being out there in the environment with the fans. I mean, that was the biggest piece of it, takeaway. I mean, fans always show out. We have the best fans in the world. So for the fans to come out and come put a great show on for us, I mean, that was the biggest takeaway for me. But overall, I mean, there was a lot of drives where it was just, it was going and it was a stop. But that's just how football works sometimes. But overall, I mean, I was just glad to be out there with my brothers. I feel like we had a great time. The shot was amazing. But overall, it was just a great sunny day in Eugene, so I can't complain.
I want to ask you about your chemistry with the receivers, and obviously you're not throwing to all of them today because the teams are split like that. But just how has that come along this spring, and kind of where you feel like you're at in terms of just that connection with those guys?
Yeah, I feel like Coach Lanning here does a really great job for how we do spring. He doesn't really have you with one group the whole spring. I feel like every week we change receivers, O-line, or different center, just to get different feels with everybody. But overall, I mean, we have playmakers everywhere, and I just know we have a lot of talent, and I'm just blessed to have that. Especially as a quarterback, giving everybody opportunities to make a play with the ball in their hands. But overall, I mean, the chemistry is always going to keep growing and growing. I mean, this is the first phase of the season, spring ball. Of course, there's going to be a lot of mistakes, but that's good. I mean, if you're perfect, then it's insane how it can be like that. But overall, I'm glad to see mistakes because you get to learn from it, build from it, especially a lot of the young guys. It's teaching them a lot of great things. But overall, the chemistry's going to get there for sure.
Looking at the quarterback room as a whole, what did this spring game teach you as a quarterback about the entire quarterback room and how that competition is going to play out the rest until the opening season?
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback room did a great job today. Of course, protecting the ball, making plays, just making smart decisions. Overall, it's just, from the oldest to the youngest quarterbacks, I feel like we made plays out there. And it was great to see everybody. I mean, this whole spring we've been doing a great job being ball players. But overall, I mean, we just did a great job today. We protected the ball, found the open guys, and moved the ball down the field.
You had a couple of long balls today, one to Kenyon, one to Jurion. Just if you can recall the Jurion one, because it seems like that's probably the one that you had the best window and hit him in stride down the sideline there. Just what were you seeing today on a couple of those long plays?
Yeah, I mean, when we have the wideouts we have, of course, we want to take shots. I know I took one to Kyler as well. I feel like it was a touchdown, but it's an incompletion, but hey, it is what it is. But I know I'm playing. Overall, it's just really taking shots to those guys are the best because, that's what they're known for, getting the ball in the air. And I know with Jurion, it was a corner cap pressure. The safety took him one-on-one. So just give him a chance. He's the same class as me. We have a real strong connection. So just give him the ball, let him be a ball player with the ball in his hands, and he did a good job of catching it and keeping himself in bounds. So it was a good chunk. We scored in that drive, so it was pretty good.
Can you just talk about the newcomers to the program on both sides of the ball and where you've seen the most improvement?
With the newcomers, I feel like, man, this generation is just different. I mean, with how the talent is overall for, like, a lot of us young guys, I mean, just the way they come in and just be, real fast, running 22 miles per hour, having the mindset of, in high school that they run good concepts there, so they bring it here and already know kind of a good feel for how we do our concepts here. So overall, I mean, the newcomers came in and balled out. Coach Landon kept saying that, they did a really good job coming in, being quiet, is let the work talk. But overall, I mean, on offense and defense, I mean, we got hell of a players, so a lot of great freshmen, and I know a lot of them are going to play for sure.
Your thoughts on just your overall spring of where improvement was, and for you personally, and then just the competition at that position. How has that made you better today than it was when you started spring camp?
Yeah, I'd say this is the best spring I've ever had. This is my third one, and it's crazy to say that, but overall, it's just understanding that I had some goals for me to meet, and I know one of that was being a great leader. By the way I move, of course, on the field, but also just being vocal. I know that's something I had to step up and do, and I feel like I did a really great job with that. Talking to the O-line, we're in the huddle saying this is going to be a drive, we're going to score. Just, keeping everybody positive and letting them know that the quarterback's behind them is going to lead them down the field. So overall, I just did a really good job of leading, vocally. I did a really good job, speeding myself up when it comes to, the reads and, finding the open players and, protecting the ball. So I feel like overall I had a great spring, and I'm blessed, to have the opportunity to have great coaches to help me get better every day.
You and Kenyon seem to have a really great connection. What would you attribute that to, and how have you guys worked to grow that connection?
Just give 18 the ball. He's going to make a play. I mean, that's what I tell Coach Manager every day when I see him. I mean, just give him the ball. I mean, everybody knows, of course, for the famous clip he had against Penn State, when he caught the ball down the sideline for Dylan. Also, shout out Dylan, for getting drafted. I was really excited about that. But overall, just Kenny, he just makes plays, man. I mean, every opportunity as an offense, you got to find, the best players. Of course, you have multiple of them, but just got to give 18 the ball. He's going to make a play. I'm glad to have him on my team during the spring. We have a really good connection. He used to live by me. That was my neighbor. So me and him were pretty close about that. But overall, it's just I'm blessed to have him. He's a freak. So with him running 23 miles per hour, it's insane. So I'm glad to have him on my team.
I was just going to ask about Dylan. Obviously, you talked about your relationship with him before. Did you talk to him last night? What was your reaction kind of seeing him get drafted?
Man, I mean, I was on the way to DeCorian's house, and I walked in, and I guess Ryder was texting the group chat that he got drafted, and I didn't know about it. But when I saw it, I mean, I was damn excited. I mean, just him, the adversity, he's played through, going from 3 different schools, people saying his height, saying that he's not a good player. But, I mean, if you look at the stats, it just talks for itself. He's a winner. He's a great competitor. He pushed me a lot, pushed him. So just seeing him get drafted, I was born in East Cleveland, him in Cleveland now. I feel like, it's a good spot for him to be at, to learn. But overall, I mean, he's a baller, and he always told us baller's ball, so he'll be a baller. So him just being out there, I know he's going to do his thing, keep his head down. But I'm blessed for, to see him go out there and, get drafted. I know he's going to do his right thing and go ball for them.
You didn't get to play with Dylan Gresham today, but he had a really fantastic day, maybe surprised a lot of fans. What have you seen from him in terms of development?
Yeah, Dylan Gresham, I mean, he's super, super quick. He's a great player with the ball in his hands. he did have a great catch down the sideline. Of course, he was on the opposite team, and I was cheering for them as well. But overall, he was a baller. Opening kick return, almost took it to the house. So him just doing, him doing his thing, keeping his head down, just working. It's a lot of receivers in our receiver room, but I feel like he's just growing, just great. He's just growing, the way he just in the playbook, the way he's on the field, and the way he just balls. He's doing his thing, and I'm thankful to have him as a receiver.
Getting to hear from Dante Moore after the Oregon football spring game. And when we come back on Duck Insider, we're getting to hear from the other starting quarterback, Austin Novosad. He was the winning starting quarterback after the Fighting Ducks and the Combat Ducks went after it. We're hearing from Austin Novosad when we return after this on Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear Truckin' Awesome, Toyota Tundra's got heart-pounding horsepower. Tacoma is one rugged ride, and the 4Runner is tough as nails. Truck yeah. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Truckin' Awesome, Toyota Tundra's got heart-pounding horsepower. Tacoma is one rugged ride, and the 4Runner is tough as nails. Truck yeah. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
August was born 3 pounds, 9.8 ounces. When I first saw him, it was a whole range of emotions. There's stuff I still want to do. Being a young dad, it's not giving up. It's shifting. I looked through his eyes. I can envision the whole future with him already. To throw the first football to him, give him ice cream for the first time. My life is now devoted to his life.
Through all of fatherhood's firsts, never stop being a dad. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you on a Wednesday, breaking down the Oregon spring game versus the Combat Ducks and the Fighting Ducks who went at it. It was Dante Moore, who was on the losing team, and Austin Novosad, who was on the winning team. And it was one of the better traditions that Oregon does with the Oregon spring game, where after the game, the team meal, losers, beanies and weenies, it's hot dogs and baked beans, and for the winners, it's steak and lobster. And Austin Novosad getting the win as the starting quarterback on the winning team for Oregon in the spring game. He was eating steak and lobster after the game. But before he did that, had to meet with the media after he was pretty effective. He led a team to a victory. There were a lot of quarterbacks utilized, but Austin Novosad getting to show his ability on the field at Autzen Stadium. He spoke with the media after the spring game.
Not a regular season game, but your first time as a starter in Autzen Stadium. How did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. You know, the fans were out there, but it's nothing more than a practice to us, our last one. And so getting out there to just kind of display and showcase what we've been working on this whole spring, I think was super cool. And, you know, a lot of guys go out there and just made some plays today.
Collectively, your entire spring, where do you feel like you took steps, you improved, and then I guess can you also talk on just the competition in the room this whole spring and how that pushed you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think just overall execution and leading the offense down the field was just a big improvement. And then I think the competition within the room is super healthy. We go out there each day and, you know, push one another and help one another to be the best room that we can be, because come fall we're going to need all of us within that room, and I think we got a really talented one, and so it's going to be a fun year for sure.
Mission is just like a practice, but I'm sure with this many fans in the stand, there might be a little bit of nerves at the start. When you hit DeCorian on that first drive with the long ball, does that kind of just like ease you up and open you up a little bit?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it kind of just gets us in rhythm, get that first completion and get the ball rolling. It makes the play calls from there easier for Coach Stein, and I think really sparks the offense to go down there and score the first drive.
Overall, how do you feel about the receiving room going into this year?
Yeah, I mean, this is now my third year, and I think each year we got talented guys in that room, and this one's special for sure. All of them, as you can tell, both sides, both teams, white and black, were out there making plays, and so they're all gonna help us come fall.
And follow up on that throw to DeCorian. I think you even targeted him a little bit earlier in the game as well. I'm just curious on kind of what has he done as a true freshman to be someone that's relied upon and trustworthy to put a couple balls in tight windows like that.
Yeah, he's a super special player and runs great routes, and his leadership is something that I think has really stood out on the team. Being a young guy coming in here, just working hard, proving himself at practice, and then even the other guys in the room, the older ones, just helping him out. And I think Justice and Gary and those guys, kind of the vets of the room, Kyler, all of them have really kind of took him in, shown him the ropes, and he's really grown as a player. But I think that whole room together has really good chemistry. You can see it, just one guy makes a play, they hype him up, the next guy, and so it just really keeps fire in the room.
How confident do you feel in the offense as a whole, even with so much roster turnover from last season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just the age of our team this year, losing a bunch of seniors. But I think guys that are kind of stepping up and have been here, doing a nice job of just getting these young guys in here, learning the offense, and going out there and competing. I think this team has a lot of back and forth defense, offense, making plays, and I think we just push each other throughout this whole spring, and I think we kind of ended on a good note today.
For a lot of people speculating that you might transfer before this year, what kind of led to your decision to stay here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just what we have going here, like Coach Stein, Coach Lanning, the whole offense. I think it's a good fit for me, and just wanted to come out here and get better this spring.
What do the next 3 months look like for you, Austin, in terms of when you guys reconvene for fall camp, and at that point in early August? Do you have a private quarterback coach you'll be going to work with, or Manning Academy, or one of those throughout the course of the summer? What does your off the field look like beyond the captain's practices and stuff here? I'm talking off campus. What does that look like the next 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is getting my body right, after this spring, recovering for a little bit, and then hitting the weight room hard again, whether that's getting a little faster, working with Coach Love, keeping arm mobility, getting a little stronger, and then come summer, I'll be at the Manning camp, and then outside of football, just playing golf and fishing a little bit, having a good time with the guys on the team. So
Lanning talked about Dylan Gresham as a guy that's taking a big jump in development, as a guy that throws him the ball all spring. Where have you seen that improvement from him?
Yeah, man, DG's came in as a freshman. I remember we were playing at the Fiesta Bowl, and he was just hopping in there on scout team, making some plays, and I think that's the DG we saw today. It's like he really just came out there. He was confident today. So I'd say his confidence has grown, and then, I think when he knows what to do, he's an elite player and goes out there and makes plays. And so, like Coach Lanning said, he's grown tremendously, and I think it's exciting to see where he's at now, because he's really good.
It was exciting. It was exciting to see everybody out at Autzen Stadium on Saturday. Huge turnout for the Oregon spring game. Felt like a celebration in spring, and that concludes Oregon's spring practices. But the Ducks, before they get into fall camp in late July, early August, there's still a lot of work to do. Coach Lanning says wants his team to continue to get stronger, faster, better, learn more. And that's what Oregon will be working on throughout the course of the next few months before official practices resume for fall camp coming up in a few months. Continuing to break down some Oregon spring game, as well as a whole bunch of other things going on around the athletic department. Coming back on Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider continues from the Country Financial Studios in 1 minute on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember. Back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide your arms for this wayward son? I left my heart.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. We heard from the quarterbacks. Now a new face that got to play at Autzen Stadium for the first time that figures to be protecting the quarterbacks this year. A new transfer experienced offensive lineman, Alex Harkey, got to play in front of the Oregon crowd for the first time. His spring game reactions and him coming to Eugene. Let's hear from the new offensive lineman.
We haven't talked to you since you got to Oregon. Just curious what it was about Oregon that made you choose here and kind of how the fit's been so far.
Really Coach T and what he can bring to me as a player, not even like development, but like the juice he brings. It turns me up, and that's what it needs to do for me mentally to get to what I need to do.
What has it been like just developing chemistry with as an offensive line with a group of transfers like yourself, specifically with Matt next to you, and just what has that process been like here as you've started here and gotten acclimated here? Yeah,
obviously it takes like a little bit of time to get gelling with everyone and like how their playing style is and all that. Just with reps, it continues to get better, not only with Matt and with Dave as well. I feel like by the time fall camp comes around, we're going to be green.
As a veteran on this team, what did you think about just some of the young guys out on the offensive line today and how they did?
We're going to be good for a couple of years, bro. Not going to lie. There's some good dudes. Like, looking back as me as a freshman, I was 250, playing tackle, getting messed up every day. And these guys, 300. Dominant, I would say, when they know what to do, when they don't have to think as much.
Obviously, you played right tackle last year. Are you working at multiple spots, and kind of do you have a comfort zone? And kind of how do you think, maybe not just positionally, but what kind of a player do you want to be and what role do you want to have on this offensive line?
I want you to be able to look at me and call GT, West GT for us, and I go pull around, I can hit someone in the face. You know, you can run behind me. That's what I want. That's what I want my identity to be. At the end of the day, you know, run through someone's face.
Alex, first time in a packed Autzen Stadium. Did you have a specific expectation of how that would go, and how did the fans perform for you guys?
Fans were lovely. I mean, I've never been a part of nothing like this. Expectation, I wanted to leave everything I had on the field because this is the last time we get on the field till fall camp, and you aren't going to see me till that first game.
You mentioned that desire for the GT specifically. How much when you were pursued as you were in the portal, I'm sure by many options, was seeing Josh and Johnny specifically and what they did with them and getting those guys out in space on the perimeter, whether it be in screens or in counter and pulls, and those guys doing damage out in space.
They set the standard, and watching film, like, it is good ball. But, they brought me to do better than that. The standard keeps rising, and that's what I would like to do. I know we had, like, a screen with Kenyon, and I missed a block, and that messed me up mentally. Like, I need to do that. So we could have scored on that play right then and there. And the outcome of the game could have been different. So I look back, and I just need to work on some things. And getting more comfortable with, like, the spacing of the screens is just going to come with time.
You love that mentality from an offensive lineman. I want to be the guy where I'm coming out on a pull, you can run behind me, and I can run through somebody's face. That's the offensive lineman mentality. Getting to know Alex Harkey, a new offensive lineman, a transfer into this Oregon team. Also, a ton of other housekeeping to clean up. Earlier today, Oregon men's golf, they got their regional destination. Oregon is a 6th seed in the Auburn regional on the men's golf side. Casey Martin's squad going to play from May 12th to May 14th at Auburn University Club in Auburn, Alabama to start off their postseason. Over the week, Oregon and their distance team on the women's side were at the Drake Relays. Shalana Yildiz took home the Big Ten Track Athlete of the Week for the Ducks in the conference after a few strong performances and a national record in the outdoor mile for a collegian. Also, honors coming down from the national office for Oregon softball players. Both Kedri Lushar and Lindsey Grine named USA Softball Player of the Year finalists. 2 of the top 25 players for Player of the Year are Oregon Ducks, with the pitcher Lindsey Grine and the outfielder in Kedri Lushar. Also earlier today, the Big Ten office sent down Oregon women's basketball and their conference opponents for this season. Oregon will play Washington both home and away, and then one game against every other team in conference play. Coming into Matthew Knight Arena this year, Illinois women's basketball, Northwestern women's basketball. The Wolverines from Michigan are coming to MKA. Michigan State coming to town. So is Ohio State, Penn State, Minnesota, and Nebraska, the teams coming into Matthew Knight Arena. Oregon will go on the road to play Indiana, Purdue, Iowa, Wisconsin, Maryland, Rutgers, UCLA, and USC. It's a packed 18-game Big Ten schedule for Oregon women's basketball. Dates and times still to be announced, but we know who the opponents will be and where the opponents will be. Gonna have another big day on the show tomorrow, talking about golf in the regional round, hearing from a star. The Big Ten Player of the Year, Kiara Romero, will be on the show tomorrow, as well as much, much more. As always, go Ducks, and see everybody.
Put your phone on D&D, that means that do not disturb when you drive.
No problem, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted.